Thanks for coming.
So thanks to ITP for hosting us. We are kind of a roving party for immersive media fans, and we meet once a month. And if you found us through Meetup, that's kind of where our hub is. But we also have StoryCode.org, and if you don't already know about it, we have a monthly newsletter where we round up all the awesome things happening in the immersive space. So sign up if you haven't. So what we do here every month is we have one presenter. That's Julie Babb today. And then we have a couple other people who are sharing projects that are in process or something they want feedback on or something they've launched, which you are also welcome to share with us. Whenever you have that, you just have to email us, mike@storycode.org. And we're always happy to help you find people to give you feedback or do whatever it is you need to get your project to the next level. So we're a community. We support each other in creating projects, and we spread the word and the love around the world. Awesome. We're global now. And Julie Babb is a longtime member of the StoryCode world, and she and her lovely team at Awkward Hug have created a really cool thing called Bout that is shaking the world of the iPhone lately. I was definitely shaking. And so, without any further ado, Julie Babb.
I'm going to use the mic so I don't lose my voice. Okay. So, I am Julie, and I'm so happy to be here tonight. So, I'll start. Give me a second. Okay. Back in business. So thank you to Mike and Amanda. I am the co-founder of Awkward Hug, and at Awkward Hug we partner with others to build games and experiences like Bout. And so for Bout, we had the pleasure of partnering with CollegeHumor, which is a leading comedy brand. And when I say partner, I mean it in a very true sense. We're sharing in the risks and the rewards about success. And like a nice way to think about it is as if we're a startup within the offices of CollegeHumor. So what I want to do is sort of just go through what Bout is as a product, demo it, and go through some insights from conception to present, and then we'll have plenty of time for questions. Bout is an iOS game. You can't hear me? Okay. How about now? Better. Bout is an iOS game. It's currently in the store. And sorry, I'm really popular. And if you have an iPhone, you should install it now. And during my demo, we can play together. It's basically a photo-taking game that's social. And a really good way of thinking about it is like Apples to Apples or Cards Against Humanity, but with photos. And much like a real-world game, like a board game or a card game, and unlike a lot of mobile games, when you play a round of Bout, you can play as either the judge or the contender. But also, unlike a real-world game, you can have many rounds going on at once. So this slide represents one round of play within Bout. I decide I want to start a game. I'm on the crosstown bus. I have some downtime. I open up the app, and the game gives me 3 different options for a game I can start. So in this scenario, we have something you can't keep your hands off of, something insanely tasty, and a rad finger mustache. I decide I'm kind of hungry and I want to go with something insanely tasty. All of my friends on the platform then get a notification that Julie is looking for a picture of something insanely tasty. And additionally, I can send it out to all of my other favorite social networks. The very first 5 pictures that are submitted to that game are now playing that game. So it's a bit of a rush to be a part of the game I started. If you have that perfect picture, you better submit it now because in a few hours it might be filled up. Now I get to choose, I get to see all these pictures once it fills up, and I get to pick my favorite. The thing is, I don't know who has submitted the photos. I don't even know who's playing. It could be anyone in my social circle. So I'm probably going to go with the spaghetti because I'm an Italian American and I love spaghetti. And once I pick the winner, the identities of the players is revealed. They all earn coins, the winner is showered in glory, and then this completed game gets sent out to all of my friends so that they can enjoy it. Okay, so now I'm going to, this is a backup slide because I want to actually demo the game. And it worked like a minute ago.
Twitter's for Bout.
At Bout. Mike, stand up again. That helped.
I did See?
Okay. Hopefully I don't get any embarrassment. Oh my god!
I'll tell who's in again.
Oh, that's what it is. Alright, the key is to plug it in, guys. Here we go. So, this is when you open. Okay. So, when you first open up the game, you're brought to your newsfeed, which is very similar to your Facebook newsfeed or your Instagram stream. And this is where you can see games that have been played by your friends. For example, your prized possession. Brian Oliver was the judge of this. You can scroll and see who submitted which photo. Cheryl was the winner. He didn't pick the baby. He doesn't like babies. We also have editor's picks, where our editor, Catherine Myers, daily picks some really good content and injects it into everyone's feed. Something that brings your appetite. Some other ones are here. Some butt cheeks. So it's really fun and entertaining content. When you want to play a game, you go to the Play tab. You can start a game. And this is where you'll see those 3 prompts from our database of thousands and thousands of prompts. It's giving me a ninja pose, one of your proudest accomplishments, something you hate cleaning. I think I'm going to write my own for everyone here tonight. And I'll be in your face. Schmoozing. Is that how you spell schmoozing? At StoryCode. One word, right?
Story side.
Your face was schmoozing at Story. Alright, I'm going to start that game. Oh no. That's my husband. Okay, instead we'll start something you hate cleaning. I have to say I've never ever gotten that bug where you couldn't start a game. And so here you decide who can play just my friends or everyone in Bout. If I choose everyone in Bout, it fills up really fast. If I choose just my friends, it's a little bit slower, but the content might be of a higher quality or a more personal quality. And I'm going to start that game. And then in this list is also another game that I started like an hour or two ago, the last thing you look at every night, and then games I can join that my friends have started. And I would play one right now, but I don't actually want to touch my phone and take it up from the table. So that is what the game looks like. I'm going to disconnect. When Jim walks in, everyone can go, aww. We'll embarrass him.
So is this a login via Facebook?
You can log in via Facebook, and any of your friends who are Facebook friends are instantly your friends on the platform. You can unfriend them if you're Facebook friends with your mom, you don't want to play Bout with her. Or you can log in without Facebook. And there's a feature where you can search for friends.
And then all your Facebook photos or photos on your phone are available? That's
All the photos on your phones, when you go to submit a photo, you can either take it right then, or you can upload it from your gallery on your phone, or you can paste an image that you've copied. A lot of people don't know in your browsers on your mobile phone, you can actually just hold the image and copy it. But you can, and then you can use it in Bout. So if you're on Twitter and you're looking for games to join, you can also search for #BoutGame. A lot of people find each other that way. I thought, since this is a StoryCode crowd, you would be interested in some of the content that the users are creating. It's pretty interesting stuff. These are share cards from the games with prompts that we wrote. So you were adopted phase, why you're at where you are, and a lot of our inspiration when it comes to writing these prompts is the yes-and rule from improv comedy. So just really having everyone be in on what they're pretending to do within the joke. And so it's like, we write these prompts in an effort to set it up and let set it up so that the people who are playing look really funny, so they can spike it. And then these are some prompts that we wrote that people got really sentimental with. I don't know if you can see, but the scar you're most proud of, she's showing off her cesarean scar, and then everyone loves babies, it's all mushy and warm and fuzzy. As you sort of saw in my demo, you can also write your own prompts. So if you're playing with your friends and you want to, like, if you're Daniel's friend and you're like to make fun of him for farting a lot, or if you are into drugs and you want to talk about your spirit guides, you can do that as well. People who write their own prompts, they tend to be on the funnier side. Occasionally you get a sentimental custom game. So we've been building Bout for 10 eventful months, and we kicked off production in September. We turned out a prototype pretty fast, and then we were in the App Store by January. Each of these numbers represents a new build that we released in the App Store, and each of those builds had significant improvements. We removed features, we added features, we turned features upside down on their heads. In 2.0, we actually took the entire main navigation system and changed it. And you can see from sort of the rhythm here that we got better. We got better at figuring out what the problems were, what the solutions might be, testing it out, and executing. So I landed on 6 insights to sort of talk about tonight, because I felt, we're still in production mode. I'm a little close to the project. I didn't really feel like I could come here and give a very typical case study. And these are all pretty worthwhile to talk about and straightforward. So When we first conceived of Bout, we put together our own little brand of a pitch deck and put it in front of pretty much everyone that we know and trust, and we felt was either had the tools or access to the tools that we might need to do this better. And from that experience, we got 2 advisors who didn't even know each other, but we introduced them, and within a month we were just working together to figure out what the right path was for Bout. And I guess the point is, we did something right. I don't know if we meant to do it right, but we did something right in that we found our advisors in this really organic way. And we were also pitching in the wake of the massive success of Draw Something and Instagram. Draw Something really paved the way for something like that, because it's similar in that it's a mobile app, it's a mobile game, it's genuinely social, and it allows for asynchronous play, which I think prior to that I wouldn't have been confident that people would really understand that kind of design. And it also forces its participants to be creative, which is a bit of an ask. And then of course Instagram, which made everyone a professional photographer. And so we knew that something like that was sort of going to happen, whether it was us who made it or not, and we wanted to be the ones who made it. So we had sort of the benefit of coming around immediately after those products. And that sort of momentum was really important throughout the entire life cycle of producing the game. It's not just about let's make it happen faster, it's more about momentum, giving the team this like morale that makes them do it better. And I felt personally responsible for keeping that morale up and keeping that momentum up, and like making sure that everyone saw the awesome bright light at the end of the tunnel when they were heads down working their asses off. Oh gosh, I just cursed, and there's a curse on the screen. Don't look ladylike at all. So in August when we first started, we RFP'd a lot of development firms because we knew what we wanted to build. We had our wireframes, we had our feature list, and we knew that we wanted to go to market really fast. So we ended up hiring a dev shop to build our prototype and build our game for us because they had an army of iOS developers. Because we could say, you know, one iOS developer in-house is not going to be as fast as, you know, your 4 to 6 guys who can work on it all the time. You can see, if you go back here, that we actually, around 1.2, I decided that that was not a good system. And we got rid of what I did was keep the one server-side developer who was working on it from the shop, and we hired one in-house iOS developer, and things just got so much better because when we had the 4 guys, there was so much miscommunication that we were doing everything 2 and 3 times over. But when we had the one developer, it was like I was able to sit down with him and our server-side developer, and we got things done better instead of faster. Jim's here, everyone. They saw your tweet. I mean, your text message. Yeah, so basically we went from big and sloppy to lean and mean when we made that change. So when you're building a project like Bout, you basically start out with your feature list and you have your core features, and then you have, oh, these would be nice to have features, and then you have your icebox. And the most important thing to do from the very beginning is make sure that you're very strict with your core feature list. We had 2 whoopsies in that list that we only, of course, realized afterwards. One was the daily global bout, which was a feature we launched with, and it was kind of designed for anyone who didn't have friends on the game to be able to submit a picture to a prompt for this, one prompt a day for everyone on the app. And only after launching did we realize that it wasn't very fun because no one was playing it, and also that it didn't really reflect the game mechanic that we were going for in the rest of the game. So we cut that, and it should have never been on our initial core feature list. Another one, which was harder to sort of see at the time that it didn't belong, was creating groups of friends. We were imagining that players would be writing us letters like, "Thank you so much for giving me all this control over my social circles and who I get to play with," and it was not the case at all. When we did new user testing, users would start to play and they would get to the screen where you can make groups of friends so that you play certain maybe racier games with your friends and funny games with your boyfriend, and they would just slowly back out of the screens until they were back to the home screen where they felt safe and secure. It was too much. It was too complex of a feature to just throw at people. So we got rid of those, and that leads me to testing. Testing with your users. We didn't do really great testing. Obviously we were user testing all along. It's a game, you have to do that. It's a mobile product, a digital product, but we really got more quality testing once we were in the App Store. We were able to hand someone her phone and say, "Download this app and let me watch you play it." What did we do? We went to, if you're looking for places to user test, go to places where people are sort of milling around with nothing to do, like malls and colleges. And also, a great place if you're in New York City is the High Line, because the High Line is full of tourists and they're so polite. And if you say, "Can I just have 5 to 10 minutes of your time?" they don't say no. I think I had one person say no out of that, like 100. Something else that we did that was a really great way to test our thinking as opposed to test the product was we had weekly design workshops and with our design team or our product team, and we would bring a random industry person into the meeting with us, someone who we would say, just install the app right before the meeting, come in, let us know what your first impressions are, and then we would just throw them into our brainstorming and workshopping session. And what that did for us was it didn't allow us to ignore the new user voice. So, very much when you're really deep in a project, you think you know what's right for the project because it's your baby, and you're like, "I know how to fix this. This is what we're going to do." But when you have that outside perspective, especially when it's someone who perhaps is, a designer or a developer or a UX or somebody who works in an industry where they're accustomed to workshopping problems, they can come in and say, "I have a fresh perspective, and you're thinking about this wrong." And that was just a really great exercise for us. And lastly, I want to talk about the thing that we struggled with the most as a team. I think that going into making Bout, we built the product off of already existing behaviors on existing and popular platforms and products. So we thought that for sure we would just throw this out there and everyone would pick up what we're throwing down. They would understand the behavior that we were demanding of them. But they didn't. And that was a big problem for us because Bout is more fun when you play it with friends. So we were getting people to log in and sign up, and then we were like, "This is what the game is about, now go tell your friends and then you'll have fun." And what we needed to do was show them how fun it was and inspire them to go and invite their friends. And so that was a project. And we ended up doing it with the tutorial. We tested like 4 or 5, maybe 6 versions of the tutorial. We did it with the editor's pick. The editor's pick was a really great way to show people content right away and show them what kind of fun they're in for as soon as they log into the app. And then we did it with Twitter games, which evolved into games for everyone. So you can log in, you can start a game, you can make it for just your friends, or you can make it for everyone on the platform. And that, actually, when we first were testing that, it was more you can actually tweet it and anyone can play it. And it worked out, so we made it a permanent feature. And that's all, folks. So that's my email address. If anyone wants to chat or hang out sometime, I like coffee and hoppy beers and interesting people.
Cool. Thank you so much. So we'll take some questions, please.
You mentioned that you guys partner with people to make these games. So did someone bring this to you, or like how did the project evolve?
So we created the project in our minds, which was a very different, not very different, it was the same concept, but it was a little bit different name, different kind of feeling, different flow. And then we made a pitch deck and we kind of just went around and said, do you know people who would be interested in partnering up with us to build this really cool thing, you know, who would like this type of thing? And that's how we ended up with CollegeHumor.
So, not to be the wah, but how are you guys looking to monetize it?
Oh, sure. So there's a whole, I didn't really get into it, but there is a whole in-app purchase system. And you can use coins to do things like write your own prompts. So if you want to start a game about Daniel farting, you can have to spend 100 coins to do that. You can refresh your list if you just don't like it very much, like draw something. And there's theme packs, so change them. We have really refreshing that up really frequently. They're just sort of like if you're interested in animals, you can use coins to unlock that pack and start all these games about animals.
Was that in your first presentation, like pitch deck? You already have that.
Right,
in
of
mind?
course, yeah.
Do you have any idea of the type of people that are playing this game? Like, is it skew younger or older?
It skews older than you would think and female, which is yeah. So it's like 20 somethings, upper 20 somethings, and 30, early 30 somethings. We tested it on people of all ages, and not to be mean, but kids don't get it. They're not like it's like I tried to draw something with my 13-year-old niece. And I was worried that she was an idiot because I was like, well, you just draw something. And she's like, I don't get it. I think this is the same way where it's a little bit, you have to kind of be willing to be silly, be willing to be confident in yourself. And I think younger people are a little intimidated by it. And that's why we skew a little bit older.
And do you have any idea of like usage? Like, are there a bunch of power users? And what
Oh, yeah.
Like, what's kind of the curve?
I don't know what the percentages are in terms of who are like, you know, our whales are, and how often what percentage of people are playing the most. But they're out there because I play with them. And I'm like, you play more than I do. And they're awesome. Yeah.
You mentioned advisors in the beginning. Did the advisors play an investing role to the company?
No, our advisors were strictly advisors.
Did you self-fund the app?
What's that?
Did you self-fund the app?
Oh no, the money portion came from, Awkward Hug is not a rich company, so the money portion of the app came from the CollegeHumor partnership.
Okay.
I have a question. The amount of times you said testing was just awesome, amazing, and it just goes to show you. And also the thing that was so fascinating was the project flow and how your cycles got quicker when you made that change. Do you think that if you had started off with just the kind of one developer instead of the four, that your time to market would have been quicker, or was that just kind of like a necessary thing that you had to go through to kind of figure out how to optimize it?
Yeah, it's tough to say. I think it was kind of necessary. Those were not like wasted months. We built the product from scratch in those months, right? So we, once the in-house iOS developer came in, he had a lot to work with. It was a lot of like moving around, fixing up. He came from an agency, so he was like a little bit more tuned into making things look good, which is always a struggle for him with like straight developers. So yeah, it's hard to say. It probably would have served us well to do it either way.
And like in terms of testing, before you rolled out the prototype, or before it went to public, like how did you manage that process?
That's tough because you can actually only give access to 100 people through TestLite to your app. So that's not really enough people. And then when you're testing on devices that already have the app on it, you're doing a lot of explaining like, oh no, but you would be signing in as yourself. And oh, well, this would be doing this. And maybe your friends would be on it. Then what? How do you feel? And then also you're testing with people who kind of, then it becomes like you're kind of doing it in this heavy-handed way, and they know that you made the app, and they're like just trying to be polite. If you can tell someone to just install it and then step back a few feet and let them actually have the experience, it's a totally different thing. I would have loved to have been able to do that, but we just logistically couldn't work out.
I have two questions. One is, what led up to Bout? What did you do previously that sort of led to this idea? And then why iOS, not Android or some other platform?
Sure, I can answer your second question first. People don't spend money on Android, they'll spend money on iOS. So if you're going to actually have a successful, in the business sense, app, you're going to go to iOS first, and then if it's successful, you go to Android to get more users, to drive more users to that iOS app. Your first question was how we build up. So previously we had worked on a game called Socks Incorporated, which was also about, it was a browser-based game for kids where they submitted content. We submitted photos of their sock puppet completing real-world missions, and it was super fun, and we learned a lot from that experience about user-generated content and all the challenges around that. So I would say that experience definitely shaped our thoughts around just the fun of submitting content and playing with friends.
So what's next for Opera Dub?
Good question. I don't know what our next. We're ramping up. We're supposed to have our a big marketing push this week for Bout. So I'm really focused on that right now. We're kind of getting all our ducks in a row, and it should be maybe tomorrow or the next day when we start advertising and having influencers, spread the good word. So I'm really focused on that right now, but I guess anything. Jim, what's next for Opera?
We're looking for collaborators and
Yeah.
people to talk to, so reach out.
Right. Julia, Opera.
Can you talk a little bit more about some of the marketing strategies that you guys have, and with your first round, what worked and what didn't work?
Sure. Facebook ads are the best, mobile Facebook ads. And we did, in the first round of marketing, we did Pandora ads, which are pretty great. They resulted in a lot of click-throughs, but not so many installs, surprisingly. And then Pandora ads, obviously we're running ads at CollegeHumor.com.
I can add a little bit to that. So it's a lot about focusing on the platform that you're trying to drive to. So since it's all about mobile, you don't want to, desktop ads are completely useless.
Right.
Desktop marketing is useless. It's if you're having influencers, Twitter is more valuable than Facebook. Anything that will just keep someone from, the attrition from site to site to site just goes downhill. So it's all about, if you have someone tweet directly the link to the App Store to download, because every step you take, you lose like 20, 30, 40% of people.
Right, and what's cool about the Facebook ads is you can actually target people who have friends on the app already, which is really great for us. It's such a social game.
I've been getting Facebook ads.
Oh, really? You guys have not installed?
I'm on the Ultra West. That's cool. Loves it.
Now we all know you're guilty.
Yeah.
Any other questions?
Did you take the same platform and have people submit like Vine type videos or other types of user generated content besides photos?
Sure. Yeah, we've explored sort of those options.
But you don't plan to at this stage.
No. And for me personally, I don't know if that's a great idea. So it's a possibility. I think there'd be a lot going on if you had a series of 5 moving images.
I was just thinking, how's the management process of, content as far as appropriate content and things like that, as far as photos that are being uploaded and things like, is that monitored or?
Yeah, we monitor that. We have to, according to the App Store rules. So we have a flagging system, and we check our flagged images pretty frequently, and we also have, we also moderate. So we can go through the images, and if something is really bad, we delete it and ban the user. And that usually, actually, but we're getting less and less bad content because people learn that it's not going to go very far.
You always have to worry about it.
Right.
We had to make sure that our flagging system on the back end didn't include the prompts, because otherwise we would
judge it.
Probably make us laugh and then feel bad about deleting it.
Right, like you have to take it out of context. Otherwise, it's like, but that's kind of funny. We should keep it.
It is interesting how you have to design rules on what is acceptable and what is not, based on just sort of how the community emerges. So where do you draw the line on content? That's just a
yeah, I can tell you all about that if you
No,
at another time. It's probably not appropriate.
But is it a machine recognition or is it a human?
No, it's human. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, if you go through pictures really fast, I have a few people who do it. It's not that big of a task because if you scroll through the photos super fast, you know right away, like, whoa, hold on. Yeah. And you can tell when something is not cool.
With the user-generated content, how are you guys handling licensing and copyright of the images?
It's like any other platform. If you submit an image, you're saying that you have the right to use that image.
So it's just a general license, it's not.
Oh yeah, no, we don't. You just have to make sure that you can use it like that.
Julian, I was going to ask that some insight as to when you're so focused on getting something launched versus like after it's like a lot of times you're only focused on getting it launched and then that's the light at the end of the tunnel and my work's done. But obviously the work has just begun, right? And so how did your team change from did it change from numbers and also second kind of an add-on is what type of ongoing community management or what type of team do you have that kind of runs this now that it's up and running?
Sure. So the team is myself and Catherine Myers, and Catherine's part of this community as well. She writes sitcoms actually, but she also works for that full time. And we both kind of do everything. We wear a lot of different hats. I get to meet with Ricky Van Veen, and who's the founder of CollegeHumor, and Paul Greenberg, who's the CEO, and Matt Eckstein, who's the CTO. And we meet weekly to sort of figure things out and discuss about. And then I get to meet with Jim Babb and Tanner Ringaroo and Catherine as well, weekly as well. And that's when we bring those outsiders in. We'll get people to come in for a few hours and just work with us and give us a fresh perspective, because that's the team. It's just us, and we've been working on it for a long time. So your question was?
I mean, that's just great. Just insight on it.
Right.
I can say a little bit more about that. So I think one thing is thinking about thinking of it as a product and a business in and of itself. And I think this is a shifting perspective of media, including films and other types, that you have to think about what's it going to cost to acquire someone to watch, even if it's a film, acquire someone to download the app, how much with the lifetime value of them. For a movie, it's only the one place that you charge for it. And so it's thinking about it as a business in this long-term perspective. And so the launch, this is not a marketing app or something that is designed to just be right the first time going out. It's something that you have to plan on, sticking to for a year. Anything worth doing is going to take that in the future.
Right. That's a really great point. We never went into this thinking of it as an artistic expression. We went into this saying this is a product and this is a business that we need to figure out how to run and run well.
Yeah, and one of the great things I took away is also the role of advisors not only like helping you ideate and work with things, but like becoming supporters and helping make introductions and stuff like that.
Yeah, and because we have a small team, like when I have an oh shit moment, I'm calling my advisors.
Right.
And it's not very often, but it's like invaluable. We write them, and well, we hire writers as well. Yeah, so it's very funny. So we hire writers, and they're usually really bad at first, and we have to train them a little bit about what makes a good prompt, and then they'll get really good, and then they'll just be horrible. And we have to be like, sorry, we don't need you anymore. And so we've gone through a lot of writers like that. We're fortunate to have Catherine on the team. She writes a lot of the prompt content, and we'll just have. Very early on, we had sessions where we would just, for hours and hours, rattle off prompts. One of our litmus tests for if we're not sure about whether a prompt is good or crummy, it's kind of on the border there. We ask if it would be funny or clever if someone submitted a picture of a penis to it, and if the answer is yes, it's a good prompt. But we don't want people to submit penis pictures. It's just a process.
What do you think are some of the most interesting surprises from your previous project in the earlier phases of this project? What did you learn?
Surprises with this project?
Just in terms of, in general, or user behavior?
I guess, I don't know, surprises from user behavior. Sometimes people surprise me how creative they are all the time with their prompt writing and with their photography as well. Sometimes we'll be looking for editors' picks, and there's so much good content that it's overwhelming. I would call that a delightful surprise. I don't know if there's anything. Do you have anything that was really surprising to you about user behavior?
Every game that we've had before this didn't have nearly the amount of people that this one has on it. So the story from the data has been fascinating to me. The more people you get, the way that a small change can make a huge difference in retention or just changing a couple interface things. All of a sudden, someone will stick around for the average user will stick around for an extra week or two rather than dropping off. It's just those minor things that I was like, oh, if people are having fun, they're just going to stick around. But no, it's very little things make very, very big changes, especially when you start adding lots of people probably.
One example of that is the sharing. So people don't really share the content outside the app. So it'll be great content, and they don't hit that Twitter or Facebook button. And we really struggled with that for a long time because we were like, why are people sharing? It's so awesome. Share. And eventually what we had to do was when you win, or when you judge a game, when you're returning back to the feed, you get a pop-up and it says, hey, awesome job, share it out, and everyone shares it from there. So it's just throwing it in their faces, which for us felt really unsophisticated, and we didn't want to do it at first. We were kind of very timid about that. Ended up being the right solution.
You said your demographic tends to be females 20s up to early 30s. Your partner is CollegeHumor.
Right.
Were they thinking they were going to get more of a college age, or are they looking to attract more of the college?
No, I don't think that was a priority for them. I think that for them, they're not looking as a complement to their site. It's sort of a separate product, a separate business. And
are they ruminating on how to get more college people to the site to start some sort of?
I think that's going to happen naturally. If you look at a product like Twitter did the same thing, where it started out a little bit older, and then as sort of that behavior of tweeting became more ingrained in society, younger people started to do it as well. And so I feel like that's what's going to happen with Bout. I think people are going to, that behavior is going to become established.
How many games do you get in a day? Does it vary by the day of the week, seasonal? How fast it's growing?
It's interesting. It does have its own, Bout has its own little wave, and I think that's because of the flow of games. And we have some levers in the back end where we can speed things up and slow them down, for the public games at least, which affect it draws people back to the app. And like on Father's Day, our usage dropped down way low, and I was sure that there was a big like bug or like server crash, and I was freaking out.
People just love their dads.
People love their dads so much, and they don't open their phones. But the next day, it was like, whoop, we're back. So yeah, it's definitely, and people play on certain days, and people play at night a lot. You can see the quality of the photos too, like really late at night, kind of.
What is the level of traffic? How much is it? How fast is it growing?
It's growing. It's tough to say because we have this marketing campaign, which of course inflates your usage because it's first-time users, and then you're just looking at retention. And our retention rate is really great. We have 45,000 registered users on the app, and about 3% of those users, 3 to 5% of those users come on every day. So someone might come on Monday and then not come back until Friday. So those people are playing, I can't tell you how many games they're playing, but they're playing more than one game when they leave for each session. So they'll open the app, they'll play a few games, because you can have so many rounds going at once, and then they'll close it and go on about their day. And people spend a lot of time on the app too, which is really great.
Leaderboards?
We have a leaderboard for you and your friends, so you can see where you rank amongst your friends.
Are you finding that changes behavior when people see where they fall on the leaderboard? Are you able to study that?
Yeah, you know what people like? I don't know if I can gracefully plug this in again. But, I mean, I'll just tell you. People like...
I'll plug it in while you're talking.
Okay. Make sure I didn't text messages. People like, we have these pie charts where it says everyone's percentage of wins versus losses and your percentage of wins versus, and it's visual, and people love that. It's simple. Leaderboard's kind of messy to look at. It's very like, I don't know, it's a little like hardcore gamery, I think. I just made up a new word, guys. So, see, this is like a sweet, sentimental game. Here's my profile, and this is what I'm talking about. People really like this stat, because if they have more wins than everyone, they're like, God. And then the leaderboard is also a little bit deeper. I think Ricky Van Veen is like #1 on everyone's leaderboard.
Did you have those when you first launched, or were those things, features you added later?
We had a leaderboard when we first launched, and we changed the way it works. We changed the list and the logic behind it. But when we was there, it's just when you were playing, it didn't make sense the way we had it. We actually had the sorting working. So. And there was something else I wanted to I wanted to show, somebody asked about finding friends, if you didn't find them on Facebook. This is our Find Friends screen. So our search is pretty, it performs pretty well. And then we also have this suggested friend feature where it pulls in friends of friends, people we've played recently that you might want to play with. And then of course you can scrape your Facebook and comments.
Thank you very much. Cool. Thank you so much. And that's I think a second time presentation from the Awkward Hug team.
It is.
Who rocked the Story Hackathon as well. So good to see you guys.
We're celebrities.
Yeah. So we have 2 5x5s tonight. So for those of you who don't know, 5x5s are like we give members of the community 5 minutes to come speak about stuff that they're working on. So it's either like a project that they're working on, they're looking for collaborators, or they've created something that they want to share with the community. And we try and do it in like a 5 minutes, 5 slides type format. So we have 2 tonight, and the first one is with Joe Ballou, who's going to be presenting Civic Games. But Civic Games is a cool educational game that kind of started off, just tell me if I'm misdescribing it, but started off as a board game and now is kind of moving more into transmedia gaming experience. But there's definitely like an educational component to it.
Thanks, Mike. Everybody, thanks so much for having me tonight. I'm here to talk about our Transmedia education project, which we call Glory, and it revolves around themes of memory, migration, and heroism. So this all began about 2-3 years ago. I was teaching in the Bronx, and a colleague of mine, John, and I were looking for ways to engage our kids as global history teachers. And the resources that we had available to us were really not sufficient, and as good as doing things like this, we took 22 kids to Spain for 11 days. That's a really great way to give them real experience. At a practical level, we can't do that kind of stuff for all our kids all the time. What we did find was very effective were games, and we basically were inventing our own games. So it started on paper with simple game concepts like this. One of our games really seemed to connect with kids and seemed to be a really good delivery mechanism for content and as an assessment system. So starting in 2011, we started building a board game. Early 2012, we started piloting it in several games. I actually left the classroom as a full-time teacher to work on this project because we saw so much potential with it. And then by the summer of last year, we had really brought this game pretty much into a beta form through testing with several hundred kids in multiple different school settings. But we also were finding that, one, there was a really pretty much shitty business model for a board game company, and in terms of scalability and testing, there was a lot of potential by going digital. We also saw that there was potential to really enrich the experience by having a digital piece to this. So beginning in the fall of last year, we built out a data app, and then we started building a mobile game. So in January, we began this programming. It's currently in the browser. We took as inspiration for its structure a kind of a mix of a Mario Brothers type platformer. There aren't many action-adventure games in the education space, and sort of an Angry Birds style leveling up menu select screens. So we have a bunch of mini levels. You're racing against the clock, and we built this off of what we learned in the board game around game mechanics, but also the big connection between this mini game and the board game is the story world. So we had done a lot figuring out what kind of gaming experience was fun, but we realized that one of the things that wasn't really clicking was the story behind the game. And we realized we needed to start writing story for characters and for the environment. So thinking about history, we have a lot of content to work with, obviously. But we also were exploring geography, for example, being that movement is such an important theme of history. And movement brought us to migration as an important theme. We were trying to think of how we could connect to students. And kids today are living in a world where humanity is urbanized, and where many people are sort of ripped from their roots of wherever their ancestors grew up, and so they're trying to figure out their own story. So migration emerged as an important theme. And then we also want to think about the problems that kids would be facing. So we kind of built our world and our story around the problems kids would be facing. In order to create sort of an element of fantasy and fun around this, we also wanted to look at themes of dreams, time travel, and as sort of teenage heroes. So we looked at some of the best sort of models of that across different story modes, and we've used that as inspiration for what we call the labyrinth. So the way the game works is that we have 4 heroes, and they can enter into the past as pretty much a repository of human memory, and they can access that through their dreams. And this is where we can kind of bend the rules of reality. It's a simulation, being that it's memory, but there's a world that they're entering into where we can kind of play around a lot. And so we're sort of discovering what this means, but we wanted there to be the ability to do things like combat, and have like a moral storyline, but we also want to have it based in reality and sort of be able to build simulation components of the game. So we're working on this like immersive environment experience, and then when it comes to our characters, we've done a lot of development on our heroes. So we've got heroes from different parts of the world, from LA, Mongolia, Nigeria, and Sarajevo, and each kid is basically the archetype of a migrant kid who's trying to find their story in the world today. They're battling kind of our fantasy army that exists in this like story, this like labyrinth that we call it, and then they also interact with non-player characters that serve as guides, and the characters can interact with. So basically, we're working in like a really exciting, engaging space by doing story development, game development, and curriculum development. And we just want to connect with the community to share ideas, and we really would like you guys to follow our work and to connect with us after tonight. So for an example of some of the things that we're working on, we're working with a 3D animator to sort of model some of the characters for a future build of the game. That's a much more immersive game, and we just want to model out some components of that. To follow us and follow up with us, we'd love for you to just subscribe to our email mailing list. The bit.ly is MediaCG, CG for Civic Games. And we're at civicgames.co as the website, civicgames.co, Facebook, and civic_games on Twitter. And we'd really just like to follow up with you. So that's sort of my presentation. I also have a copy of the board game with me if you're interested in seeing sort of where that came from. And I'm Joe Ballou, Civic Games. Thank you so much for having me.
Cool. Awesome. Thanks,
Hold
Joe.
up the board game. It's really cool.
Awesome.
Can I hold it up?
Yeah, please check it out.
So we're doing this print on demand right now. Until we start selling thousands and thousands of copies, we're not doing inventory. But this is like the board, and we have components, and we'd like to do like 3D printing of this guy for the pawn, which would be crazy, awesome.
Sweet, awesome.
Thank you.
Thanks, man. So next up, we have a little bit of a pivot from the game focus. Josh Lamb from Galahad is going to do a 5x5. So we're starting to see some technology frameworks developed for storytellers and for immersive storytellers that really provide a straightforward way to help tell these types of stories. Galahad is one of these, and Josh is one. Give us a quick tour and tell us a little bit more about it. We first met Josh and learned about Galahad when we were out at Story World in San Francisco. So, welcome, Josh.
Thank you, everybody, for having me. So, basically, I have a Transmedia studio with my partners based in LA. I run our Tribeca office, but we're rarely anywhere for more than pretty much a couple days in a row. But basically, just to give you a quick background, we developed an original Transmedia experience as multi-platform storytelling, including an app, website, over a motion picture's worth amount of video content. We created a custom social framework, a reward system, and commerce store. And all leading up to the first of a 3-book series written by best-selling young adult author named Michael Grant. Now what's unique is we actually own the copyright and enlisted the author and then flew on our credit cards to Europe. We got $1.7 million to make our theory, which started back in 2009. And essentially what we learned from it was we built a narrative universe that we used various touch points like an app that's a killing game to get boys, video content that's about socialite girls to attract girls, and then hardcore gamers using key influencers in those areas, and eventually drove them into a social network that we control instead of driving everybody to Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. What that enabled us to ultimately learn is that by building a robust and organic audience, we were able to parlay that into selling the foreign book rights in 14 countries, as well as the movie rights, all before the first book ever was printed or hit the shelves. And we got funded, developed it all, and launched it within 1 calendar year. So it was insane to say the least. So what we said was we looked at a lot of examples out there because we kept getting asked, well, how do we do that too? And you look at examples like the Hunger Games. They created an experience here leading up to the movie, typical engage and abandon strategy of they drove over 140 million to the capital.pn. And then what they did was they collected them and then drove them all to Facebook and YouTube. So they essentially took their audience and then they gave them to Facebook and YouTube. Then people wonder why can't we monetize digital very well? Well, YouTube is and Facebook is, but you're not. So we said this is what's on their site right now between movies. So that's to give you an idea that even the big dogs don't get it. Then you go to Walking Dead. There's a great example of how transmedia is being done right now. They have apps, casual games, a talk show about this show. They have a console game that came out. But still, again, they don't collect their audience either. You know what they use to collect it? They use a newsletter. You give them your email. So they do all of these things, but they all equally have just as much risk as the next, and very difficult for the audience to be able to transport from one platform to another. So they're not still effectively cross-pollinating the platforms they're investing in. So my big message to everybody is don't use these as your destination. Use them as means of broadcasting in a way to collect audience. If you put your fate in the hands of one of these, then you're Zynga. Worst performing stock on the stock market last year after booming. Facebook changes 2 rules, all of a sudden they're completely held hostage and it killed their company. Now it's still alive, but it destroyed them last year. So the whole point is for us is saying, how can we create a way like we did for Berserk, but make it scalable? Because even the way we did it, it's going to be expensive and difficult to do over and over again. So we developed a platform called Galahad that essentially creates a single tool. It's all cloud-based, browser, all Java-driven, that essentially allows you to control applications, your own social network, reward system, as well as commerce store, and then storytelling tools like our patented Immersive Video Builder, which actually allows you as a producer to create clickable video that allows you basically add gamification and choice into video content. Let me show you this. I'm trying to be quick, but this gives you a little quick overview of the system. Oops, sorry.
Galahad is the turnkey, multi-platform content distribution engine designed by the Shadow Gang to help you better create, socialize, and monetize your original media and story worlds. Galahad drives your entire online experience, providing you with the tools you need to oversee your original content library across the web, create unique new media, build your own in-world social networks, and administrate all your e-commerce portals. With Galahad, everything in your story world is also accessible on mobile devices, so your fans can engage with their favorite story and content, your story and content, wherever they go. These second screen content experiences let fans consume multiple streams of your content at any given time. And Galahad lets you drive all of these experiences from one place, the Story World Manager. You're not using a bunch of different tools to create each of these experiences. You're using one tool to connect with your audience. And you'll know exactly how big that audience is, thanks to Galahad's built-in analytics. More than simplistic aggregate numbers, Galahad mines deep, valuable information, every click from every user, so you know precisely what fans like and what they don't. So you can better contextualize the online experience for your audience to keep them coming back time and time again. Galahad. Power up your content.
So I'm over by a minute, so I don't want to break the rules.
That's cool.
So that's it.
Thanks, Josh. So for more information, theshadowgang.com?
Yeah, we actually created an original experience called the Umbrella Sword. So if you love like Sherlock Holmes, kind of by the reboot, and you love Cloak and Dagger, we actually have, if you click through our site, it's called the Umbrella Sword. It'll kick you through the experience, and then you can actually get into the system and actually start playing and experiencing and seeing all the different dynamics.
Sweet, cool.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Cool. So I think we're pretty much wrapped. I guess just to announce, I just wanted to let everyone know that we've got a really awesome forum planned for July 23rd. That's our next event. We've got the folks from MIT Open Doc Media Lab coming to present what they're doing there, as well as, and this is really exciting, we try to do a lot of different programming at StoryCode to bring you different types of projects, whether it's theater, whether it's games. One area that there hasn't been a lot of investigation or conversation is in data visualization. So we've got the folks from Pitch Interactive coming next month in July. Pitch Interactive just recently did a project called Drones. I don't know if you folks have seen it, but Drones was this amazing visualization of showing the data of the U.S. drone program in Afghanistan, and and it was really moving and powerful, and it was all done just through this data analysis and this visualization. So that should be a really, really interesting presentation, and that'll be happening in July as well. And we've also got sign-ups still going for the Story Hackathon that we're going to be doing in August in Los Angeles. So if you're going to be in August, if you're going to be in Los Angeles in August, sign up. Or if you know folks in LA that would want to participate, please give them a heads up. We'd love to get lots of folks to participate in that event as well. Anything else? I think that's it. So thanks again for coming, and thanks to our presenters.